Holy moly, is that a roller coaster zigzagging around the top deck like a caffeinated snake? It's dangling 190 feet above the ocean where, might I remind you, sharks are patiently waiting for passengers with loose seatbelts. There's a Broadway production of The Wizard of Oz that's so authentic, I half expected flying monkeys to serve me popcorn. And look, a robot is mixing my margarita right now, probably judging my one more won't hurt philosophy. This, my friends, is cruise ship entertainment in 2025, a floating billion-dollar circus that's turned what used to be a boat into a Vegas Disney Six Flags sandwich on water. But believe it or not, cruises weren't always this bonkers. Back in the day, the height of excitement was watching paint dry. I mean, playing shuffleboard, or listening to a string quartet play Mozart while you pretended to be cultured. So how did we go from, oh look, another waltz, to hold my drink while I zipline over the buffet? It's arguably humanity's most impressive transformation since cavemen discovered fire wasn't just pretty to look at. To truly appreciate how we ended up with surf simulators and VR arcades on these floating behemoths, we need to hop in our time machine. In the late 1800s and early 1900s, ocean liners were basically floating buses, just transportation from A to B. Entertainment? Ha! You were lucky if your cabin had a porthole. The entertainment was simply not dying of scurvy, unless you were filthy rich. First-class passengers lived like they were auditioning for Downton Abbey, while companies like Cunard and White Star Line battled for wealthy travelers' monocle-dropping approval. Ships grew more extravagant. The first vessel built specifically for pleasure cruising was the Prinzessin Victoria Louise in 1900, which sounds fancy until you realize it offered a library, a gym, and a ballroom. Fetch the smelling salts. Entertainment consisted of passengers making their own fun, card games that lasted longer than modern marriages, and dancing that was scandalously ankle-revealing. The absolute pinnacle of excitement? Putting on fancy clothes for dinner. Wild times. Activities remained so minimal that a costume party was considered breaking news. The most heart-pounding event might be a game of bingo, or a talent show where someone recited poetry. Yes, bingo. The same game your grandma plays at the nursing home was once considered cutting-edge maritime entertainment. For decades, ships were just floating hotels moving people from one boring place to another boring place. The idea that someone might actually want to be on a ship hadn't occurred to anyone yet. But the industry was about to face a massive disruption from the sky. The 1950s were supposedly the golden age for ocean liners, with celebrities like Frank Sinatra and Elizabeth Taylor making them seem glamorous. But this golden era was actually more like gold-plated, as it began rusting immediately. The invention of commercial jets body-slammed the passenger ship industry. Why spend 5 days trapped on a boat playing checkers when you could fly across the ocean in hours? Picture the early days in the 1950s. Cruise ships were smaller, intimate affairs where excitement meant a guy playing piano badly while you pretended to enjoy it. Think elevator music, but make it nautical. The night's big highlight? The captain's dinner. Some ships featured just a single musician for the entire voyage. Then came a breakthrough idea that was actually genius. During the 1960s and 70s, the major cruise lines we know today emerged. Princess Cruises, Norwegian Cruise Line, Royal Caribbean, they weren't just fixing up old ships. They were building new vessels. If the 70s established the modern cruise, the 80s and 90s transformed it into a cultural phenomenon, largely thanks to a cheesy TV show with a theme song catchier than the common cold. The Love Boat, set on a Princess Cruises ship. The 1980s and 90s marked the entertainment boom. This period introduced the Vegas at sea concept, minus the walk of shame and mysterious charges on your credit card. Cruise lines built full-scale theaters featuring stage shows with more sequins than should be legally allowed in international waters. Theme nights became major attractions, from tropical deck parties to elegant masquerade balls. This identity crisis represented the most pivotal moment in cruise history. Ship owners had to pivot from transportation to pure fun, and fast. They needed to give people a reason to board a ship that had nothing to do with getting somewhere. Their brilliant solution? They made the ship itself the destination. Like building a hotel so awesome you never leave your room, even though you're in Paris. And boom, the modern cruise industry exploded like a champagne bottle at a ship christening. Companies began offering round-trip voyages to warm destinations like the Caribbean, essentially creating giant floating circles that ended up exactly where they started, a business model that would make no sense in any other industry. Pay us thousands of dollars to drive you around in circles. The atmosphere shifted from formal and stuffy to casual and boozy. This era introduced all the classic cruise activities we now take for granted. Swimming pools became standard on every ship. They added more restaurants because nothing says vacation like gaining a pound per day. From the 2000s to 2010s, cruise entertainment took steroids and went to the gym. Royal Caribbean introduced ice skating rinks because apparently regular skating wasn't dangerous enough. Let's do it on a moving ship. They added rock climbing walls for those who find relaxation boring. Norwegian began staging full Broadway productions, allowing you to see the Jersey Boys while battling seasickness. Carnival transformed pool decks into party zones with water slides so massive they required their own zip code. Technology merged with creativity, and suddenly a cruise ship wasn't just transportation. It became a floating resort where you could experience a concussion in multiple novel ways. Amazed by this evolution of cruise entertainment? Hit that subscribe button harder than you hit the buffet on day one. We showcase the world's most spectacular cruise ships weekly, documenting humanity's unstoppable desire to put increasingly ridiculous things on boats. Now we arrive at today, where cruise ship entertainment has become so over the top it needs its own atmosphere. Let's explore the most jaw-dropping attractions currently turning perfectly good ships into floating theme parks. Number 1. Bolt, the ultimate sea coaster on Carnival's Mardi Gras and Celebration. This first ever roller coaster at sea features an 800-foot track high above the deck because apparently being on a ship in the middle of the ocean wasn't terrifying enough. Riders control their own speed, choosing between mildly terrified and I need new underwear. Number 2. The Aqua Slide Coaster on Norwegian Prima class ships. Part water slide, part roller coaster, all wedgie. It carries passengers in rafts as they twist, turn, and plunge down multiple decks while their swimsuits perform impressive feats of fabric engineering. Number 3. The North Star Observation Pod on Royal Caribbean's Quantum-class ships. This glass capsule rises over 300 feet above sea level, offering 360-degree ocean views and 360-degree opportunities to question your life choices. Perfect for photos and those who enjoy confirming just how far they'd fall. Number 4. Ripcord by iFly, also on Royal Caribbean. This skydiving simulator lets you float on a cushion of air while the ocean passes below, combining the terror of falling with the embarrassment of having your cheeks flap like a basset hound in a convertible. Number 5. The Cliffhanger Overwater Swing on MSC World America. The only overwater swing at sea launches you out over the ocean, 160 feet above the waves. The perfect combination of childhood nostalgia and adult regret. MSC also offers Robotron, a robotic arm thrill ride that flips and spins you above the deck. Because apparently some engineers asked, what if we took industrial machinery designed to build cars and used it to traumatize vacationers instead? And then there's the crown jewel of nautical insanity, Royal Caribbean's Icon of the Seas. This ship is so massive it has neighborhoods, making it less of a ship and more of a floating suburb. It includes Category 6, the largest water park at sea, named after the hurricane strength you'll feel in your stomach, and Surfside, a dedicated family zone where parents can watch their children burn through college funds at the arcade. You'll find rock climbing for people who hate relaxing, a surf simulator for those who want to wipe out in front of an audience, a ropes course that dangles you over the edge because regular ropes courses weren't terrifying enough, an ice rink on a Caribbean cruise ship, make it make sense, a theater presenting The Wizard of Oz, follow the yellow brick road to the all-you-can-eat buffet, and the Aqua Dome featuring professional divers performing in front of a massive waterfall because regular diving pools are so 2010. It's mind-boggling to think this all started with a deck chair and people hitting pucks with sticks. What began as ocean transportation has evolved into a multi-billion-dollar competition, from the elegant sway of ballroom dancing to the heart-pounding thrill of a roller coaster at sea. Cruise ship entertainment has transformed into something that would make the Titanic passengers drop their monocles and shop. The only question now is, which wildly over-engineered attraction would you try first? And more importantly, how many umbrella drinks does it take to work up the courage? As technologies like AI and immersive reality continue advancing, who knows what's next? Holographic performers that judge your dancing, fully personalized vacation storylines where you are the main character in Grandpa Gone Wild Deck 12 edition. One thing's certain, the quiet days of simply crossing the ocean are long gone, replaced by a floating circus. So what's the most ridiculous thing you've ever experienced on a cruise ship? Drop it in the comments. I want to hear your stories of maritime madness. And remember, what happens on Deck 9 stays on Deck 9, unless you post it on social media like everyone else.